half in the bag.
Oh, hey, everybody know ain't no party like a Diddy party, so.
Oh, my number 6 is Trap.
Okay, we're going back to my number 10.
This is Mike's number 10. I was tempted to put this at number 1 just to fuck with you, but I didn't. I think we are both in agreement that this movie is incredibly stupid.
Wow.
Embarrassingly stupid. I found it hilarious. I think it's the best comedy of the year.
Okay.
I thought it was so stupid that it almost felt deliberate.
Okay, I want to compare this to a movie like Wish Upon, where it's just so inept and bad it becomes funny. Mm-hmm. But this leans too hard into cringe for me to be funny.
Okay. Well, you know the premise from the trailer, and it's completely nonsensical. The FBI is like a sting operation on this music concert. Because they know the killer is at the concert because they found the stub for the receipt stub for the concert at one of the crime scenes. So they lock off this entire stadium with tens of thousands of people in it to try and find the killer that they know is in there somewhere that they don't know anything about. Don't know what he looks like, don't know his age, don't know his race, but they know he's there.
It's the worst criminal investigational tactic by the FBI or the profilers or whoever. It's the dumbest idea for the reasons you suggested. Yeah. It's like the singer, the musician in the film is like a Taylor Swift-esque character where it's M. Night's daughter.
The other daughter, not the director of Watchers.
Right. It's the other daughter.
Just such a talented family.
Her name is Salika.
She's not untalented?
Well, that's the thing. We'll get to the music in a second. Okay. I just want to so Josh Hartnett is taking his daughter to this concert. Her name is Raven something? Ravens?
Lady Raven?
Lady Raven, yeah. And so it's a big show, blah, blah, blah. It's at this big arena. Josh Hartnett and his daughter go to this concert. Yeah, they know he has a tattoo of like a duck or a lizard, butterfly.
Some sort of tattoo on his arm.
Some weird tattoo on his arm. That's all they know.
A white male in his 30s with a tattoo of a rabbit or animal on his right arm. A white male with a scar on his lower jaw.
And so I think their goal was to question every man that's in the
the 10,000 people that are at the stadium.
Yeah. Well, I mean, to be fair, 90% of them are younger girls.
Sure.
So the fathers that go with.
Yeah.
It's like, did they mention we have a fingerprint on the receipt? We're going to fingerprint.
I don't think that was even a thing. No, they just found the receipt.
But
there is a twist on how the receipt got there.
Yeah, it could be. It's just such a weak premise.
Well, and it also requires Josh Hartnett's character. The whole idea is that he's constantly outsmarting everyone. But nothing he does is smart or clever. It just requires everyone in the movie to be a complete moron. So he seems smart in comparison. The guy that he befriends that works at the merch stand, who just spills the entire plot of the movie to Josh Hartnett, tips him off that the feds are there.
He even tells him the secret code word.
Yeah, he tells him the secret code, and that Josh Hartnett, he's so clever, he remembered the code that the guy told him. So he can say it to other FBI guys later as he pretends to be an employee at the snack shack or whatever. And then he blows up the snack shack, and he gets away with it because he's just so clever. Once we get out of the music venue, he's driving a limo. He's in disguise. He's got a hat on. And then he gets completely surrounded. And he sneaks out of the limo somehow, despite it being completely surrounded by people. And the feds mistake a cardboard box for him.
With a bunch of clothes, like put a coat on it.
They just think that's him. Hey, it's like a Simpsons gag.
The limo had tinted windows. It's like a Looney Tunes adventure.
That's why I thought it was so funny. We leave the music venue at a certain point. He has a clever plan to get out of the venue. He's holding the Lady Raven musician hostage. They go back to his house with his whole family there. Allison Pill's his wife. And her clever plan to get out of the predicament is to just run into the bathroom and lock the door.
Can I have my phone back, please?
I have to go to the bathroom. Where is it? Oh, right back here.
I need my phone back now.
Cooper?
I need my phone.
Dad!
Well, she grabbed his phone
Yeah.
and was like looking at his phone.
Yeah, and then she puts out an Instagram live saying, I'm at the house of the killer. Even the concept of, because it's such bizarre casting, I was like, why do they have this elderly woman playing like the head of the Sting organization? And I looked it up. I was like, oh, it's Haley Mills, child actor in the 60s. She's in the original Parent Trap, and this movie is about a parent trap. Isn't that clever casting, even though she's completely wrong for the part? Like, just strange. Every decision is strange.
Did I tell you you could talk back to me, Cooper?
I don't even know where to begin. I think the cringe came with the opening credits when it said all original songs written and performed. Like, you need that in the opening credits.
Yeah.
By Sham's daughter. And so I was like, oh, and then, oh God. Now her music, she's a good singer. She's pretty good to very good at singing. The songs themselves are okay.
Yeah.
I'm not just going to be just, oh, they're all terrible.
Yeah.
Terrible.
Oh, no, they're fine.
They're fine. They're not very memorable. They're
But
not.
we see them in their entirety.
Yeah, and then it's like, so it's almost like a giant commercial for her music career with like a slapped together, super nonsensical plot. There's numerous like elongated sequences of him like watching the show. And then I think the part that bugged me the most is like when that whole like cringy self-promotional angle came to a head was they go, like you said, he kidnaps her. They end up going back to his house, Josh Hartnett's house, where the daughter obviously lives with her brother, and then Allison Pill's the wife. And they're like, look, it's a world famous star, Lady Raven, in our house. And I was like, what? But anyways, the scene was, and it could have been done well. They say, she's like, why don't I play one of my songs on your piano? Wouldn't that be lovely?
She's trying to stall.
She's trying
she
to
knows
stall.
her life is in danger.
I could play a quick song.
Oh my God. On our piano?
So and she's nervous because she knows Josh Hartnett is the killer. Mm-hmm. At any moment, he could grab her and say, I'm going to kill you. She doesn't even know if the wife is involved. She could be, which would have been a nice twist, but it didn't happen. So she goes over to the piano, and logic would suggest she's nervous. She starts playing her song, and her singing is a little off key, a little shaky. She makes kind of every now and then makes a mistake playing because she's terrified. There's a killer there.
Sure.
But they bring in the pre-recorded like studio song, and she plays it beautifully and perfectly, and on pitch, and never makes a mistake, just as the recorded version. And they're all just sitting there, and it's like,
somewhere beyond these Faustian trades, a bird belongs anywhere but caged. Then come the dawn after their war.
We hear the whole song.
So
it's hard. Like I said, it almost feels deliberate because, Shyamalan's had his misses here and there. But for something like this, where it's like, did he really think all this was clever? Everything Josh Hartnett does, did he think he was being clever?
He's made some fucking bizarre choices.
He does, and that's one of the charms of his movies. It's just like the weird dialogue. And Josh Hartnett's performance in this is very bizarre. That feels deliberate. But then, at the end, the feds catch him, and they got him in handcuffs, and they're dragging him out to the paddy wagon, and he's like, stops there's a bike on the front yard, and all the cops just let him prop the bike up. Why are you letting him do that? And then we cut to the inside of the paddy wagon, and it's, he pulled one of the spokes out of the bike wheel? Like, how did he do that? How did nobody see that he did that? Why did they let him pick up the bike?
They wouldn't. It was his daughter's bike, and it had fallen over, so symbolically he wanted to say he was sorry. by putting the bike back up. But
And
yeah,
these 500 cops let him do it.
the SWAT team is not going to let you stop and pick up a bike for a sentimentality reasons.
And even if they do, you're surrounded by them. Someone's going to see you awkwardly trying to pull a bike spoke off. So then it ends. He's in the back and it's like a close up of him, and he pulls out the bike spoke and like does this like sly smile to the camera.
Sequel.
Aren't I clever? It's like, no, this is the dumbest thing I've ever seen.
And you know, I looked up the daughter. She has a YouTube channel. She has songs. There were a lot of comments like, I discovered your music because of Lady Raven, and it's great.
Oh,
And
sure.
but like some of the videos, they have 400,000 views. Like they top out at like a moderate to low end. It didn't like explode.
Sure.
I think her biggest video has like, I don't know, 2 million views, like a music video. And the songs are okay. I'm not gonna like hate on it.
Yeah.
The songs are okay, but they're not like great enough to be like mainstream pop. So it all seems like just like a failed attempt at making another Shyamalan successful.
Well, it's like when Shyamalan directed, do you remember After Earth with Will Smith, and he put his fucking kid in that?
I was just gonna bring that up.
That's another case of like, I'm gonna manufacture my son to be a movie star. That didn't work out either.
Yes, and it comes with that level of annoying arrogance. Now that's true nepotism.
Yes.
It's like forced nepotism.
Oh, yeah.
Where it's like
No one else is gonna put his daughter in a movie.
He was a man who had a scarring relationship with his mother. She was probably the first person to sense he was different.
What a stressful day you must have had.
The whole movie was a trap to get you to listen to Shyamalan's daughter's music.
It literally, it's a double entendre basically.
Yeah, the parent trap. He's the parent. This is the trap. Works on so many levels. It's like self-aware nepotism.
Self-aware meta nepotism gone amok.
Well, and also the narrative structure of it is so strange. It feels like it was written by a schizophrenic. After the opening act, it keeps changing focus on like who the protagonist is. Because for the first part of it, you're following Josh Hartnett and his daughter, and then they leave the venue, and then suddenly Lady Raven's the protagonist for like 20 minutes, and then the wife's the protagonist. It's just very like oddly structured in a way that I thought was interesting too.
Yeah, I don't know if we're supposed to root for Josh Hartnett. I like the daughter. She gave a good performance. She was very like natural.
Yeah.
I wonder what's down there.
What? That's crazy. We can't go down there. You're acting strange.
You think she's going to be the one to have to like save the day or something? But
She should have been the star because
Yeah.
the dad kept leaving, and she's like, "You're leaving again? What? Why? What are you doing?" Like, the very natural kind of performance. But if she was Lady Raven, was the, the plot.
Yeah.
And wasn't a character. The daughter figuring out that the dad is the killer, and then running around the venue, and blah blah blah. Or you have Josh Hartnett be like, The Fugitive, like Harrison Ford's The Fugitive, where he is running from the law for a crime he didn't commit. Like the one-armed man killed his wife, and then so he's in the venue, and he's just like trying to what's it, Dr. Richard Kimball?
The name, Dr. Richard Kimball. The destination, Death Row State Prison.
something like that, yeah.
Did I get that right?
I think you might have.
The name, Dr. Richard Kimball. Richard Kimball, the fugitive.
And then you feel bad for him, obviously, because he's innocent, and then you have all these people trying to disrupt his day out with his daughter. Maybe he never leaves his house. He works from home. He knows he's a fugitive, and then the daughter convinces him, "You got to come to this concert with me." And he's, "All right, but I'm gonna wear Groucho Marx glasses." And then things go to shit when maybe somebody recognizes him. It's like an off-duty cop with his daughter. "Hey, I think that's Richard Kimball over there." Start sending in people, and he sees some kind of like SWAT guys coming in. It's and then it escalates out of control.
Yeah.
These are my studio notes again. I'm studio note man. But then you don't have his daughter showing her acting chops.
Cooper, you listen to me now. Enough of this foolishness.
And displaying her music constantly.
Yeah.
That whole element gets a big fuck you to this movie from me. I won't even give it the credit of a fun bad movie.
Okay.
So you're wrong. What are next?
What are next? What's your number 5?
It's a little movie called Last Straw.
911, state your emergency.
I just came in. There's blood everywhere.
Take a deep breath. Who am I speaking with?
There's blood on the floor.
Sir, can you...
But the premise is a girl is working at a diner, and she's got to do the late shift. And the trailer is a bit misleading from what happens in the movie. It appears to be a movie about a girl that works at a diner, late shift, and then these strangers-esque people show up, wearing those masks, and kind of harass her and threaten her, and it turns into a thing. It's kind of told like Rashomon style, where the first half is her point of view, and her dad owns the diner, and he says, you have to work the night shift with the creepy cook. And he's this guy who's like, and he's kind of annoying, and he's mean, and there's another guy that's kind of like, he's in love with her, and then there's a cast of characters that are in the kitchen. She is now been promoted to manager because her father owns the diner. So she takes
Speaking of nepotism.
Yeah.
Diner nepotism? That's the worst.
This is diner nepotism gone wrong.
Am I not the manager?
Yeah, because your dad owns the place. That's the only reason you're standing there rather than any of us.
Because the guy is giving her sass, and so she fires him. And she says, I'll close the goddamn restaurant myself. And then he's like, well, you can't fire me, bitch. He's kind of a nasty guy. And then, but there's teenagers that are in the restaurant in the beginning wearing those masks. And they're fucking around, and she throws them out of the restaurant. And then later on, people with those same masks show up. And we're led to believe it's those teenagers coming to get revenge. So she calls the police, and they don't do anything, blah, 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 blah. But I don't want to talk about every plot detail, but basically halfway through, we see the second story, the whole thing play out from the different perspective of the guy who got fired.
Okay.
So she is not just this like perfect heroine who's flawless, who's being, damsel in distress, or, being harassed, and she has to fight for her life. She's got some like...
That's just the version we've seen for the first half.
That's just the version we've seen for the first half. She's got some little rough edges around her. And then the guy is painted a little more sympathetically, because it kind of clunkily cuts to him in his car, and he's like, I just got fired from my job, but I need to refill my meds for my schizophrenia and bipolarism. What do you mean I've been cut off from my insurance? I got to get my,
I really need this job. Okay, I got bills, and I got insurance, and my prescription and shit.
Well, you should have thought of that before you mouthed off.
And then kind of one thing leads to another, and there's some murder. Things he goes off the rails basically because he got fired. He gets his band of cooks together to go harass the girl. Kind of spirals out of control. The only issue with the film, and this is a kind of a production note, is that they focused on the characters and the story, but the setting did not feel like it was like alive. It feels like, and this is such a weird take that it might fly over the heads of most people, but it was that weird thing that didn't sit right with me, was that it feels like they were able to film in this diner. This is theoretical. This is my guess.
Right.
The diner people said, you can film in our diner, but you can't cook any food.
Chef's knives.
Once this deep fryer gets going, things will get really wild.
And you can't have more than 4 people in. We kind of see the diner in operation, and it's like there's like one old man kind of eating a burger, and then there's a kitchen staff of like 7 dudes, but there's never anything like, they put some orders up on the counter, but they're like, it's like a burger and fries that they probably just bought at like Wendy's and put up there. And it never feels busy.
Okay.
And the dad's logic for her having to stay overnight and work is that he's programmed the lights in the diner and the parking lot and the open sign to shut off at dawn. And he can't change it. So that's why someone has to be there, even though there's like 0 business coming in, even during the peak hours. So what you really needed to do is have everything that cooks food on, flipping pancakes, frying griddles and burgers, and just, order smoke, flames coming up from the stove, every seat filled, constantly bumping into people. This diner's hopping. At 1 a.m. is when all the truckers come in. And they get a second wave of business as all the that could have been a plot point, She's getting harassed by the guys in the windows, and then it's almost 1. It's almost like, here come all the truckers. Oh, thank God, And this is blah blah blah. But from like middle of the afternoon to basically the entire film, like 0 customers come in. She doesn't really need to be there just because the lights won't turn off. It was like, I need to see this diner alive.
Yeah.
It's so important. And for anyone who's seen the film, I hope they agree with me, they can see where I'm coming from, because it's a weird, it's not a nitpick.
Well, when that's your central location, that's kind of important.
And it's like the lifeblood, it's the heart of the movie is that diner, and it needs to be a busy diner, it needs to be crowded, you need to be constantly cooking food. But other than that, it was pretty good.
Okay.
That's all I have to say about that.
Is there anyone in it? Is it super low budget? I guess it sounds like it would be.
I think it's relatively low budget. I'm not sure where it comes in the hierarchy. Now, you know what the hierarchy is?
I know what a hierarchy is.
When I watch a trailer, the hierarchy.
Oh, is this when you see like the
logo?
The logo. Okay, I think you're talking about when you see the actors and they don't have an image.
No.
What's that stupid service you use? Voodoo.
It's called Fandango.
Well, now it's Fandango at Home,
yes.
formerly known as Voodoo.
The hierarchy is like the film companies, the distribution companies. So it's like, number 1 would be, I actually try to avoid like Universal, Paramount.
Well, that's when you get that's all the Blumhouse crap is Universal.
Right. So number 1, of course, would be A24, followed by Neon. And if you have any, jump in. I think XYZ might come after that. Then below that, Bleecker Street. Below that, maybe Gravitas Ventures.
Ooh, you're taking a huge jump there.
Okay, let me scooch that down. Shout Factory. And then there's the Shudder originals.
That's usually stuff that is acquired from elsewhere, though.
Sure.
Independently made, and then Shudder just picks it up.
Well, yeah. Same with most of them.
I guess, yeah.
A lot of them.
Some of them are made in-house. All the A24 stuff is made for
But A24 isn't gonna, isn't gonna pick up a Deandra film.
That's yes.
Make sure to bring that fat bottom back to Fat Bottom Bistro again soon.
My number 5, I don't think you saw this, did you? A Quiet Place, Day 1. Very, very good. I had no interest in another Quiet Place movie. I saw the second one. Meh. Felt like an episode of a TV show. It's like, okay, I'm done with this stuff. But what intrigued me about this new one is that it's directed by the guy who did Pig, the Nicolas Cage movie, which is one of the best movies I've seen in years. So it didn't intrigue me enough to go to the theater to see another Quiet Place movie, but I watched it when it came out streaming. And it feels more like Pig than it does a Quiet Place sequel. And I think some people were turned off because it's called A Quiet Place, Day 1. It's like, oh, this is the prequel. We're going to learn more backstory about the monsters. None of that. It's a very simple, character-driven drama that just happens to have the backdrop of these creatures in it. It doesn't even necessarily need to be a prequel, but I think you call it that, it gives it that expectation that you're going to get more. And I don't know why anyone would want more information about the aliens. They just come from space, and you got to be quiet around them. That's all you need. And the opening of the second movie was also the day one incident. So yeah, it's completely focused on Lupita Nyong'o. She's dying of cancer, so she doesn't give a shit about the fact that the world's ending. She just wants to have like her last days be pleasant. Ends up meeting up with Joe Quinn is the actor. He's from the last season of Stranger Things, the one who's the metalhead playing guitar. He's really good in this, so I think he's going to be in the Fantastic Four movie. So it's like, oh no, they got him. That's what I hear about it, like a good actor that ends up in that stuff now. I'm like, oh, they got him. Because he's great in this, and it's just a very like simple, character-driven story between the two of them during the last normal days before the world turns to shit. But thankfully, he was able to maintain a very human tone to the story. Lupita Nyong'o's great in it. There's a cat that's heavily involved in it. Nothing bad happens to the cat. Spoilers. That's important to know. So I was surprised by how effective and genuinely kind of emotional it was as a third Quiet Place movie. And then, of course, I looked up IMDb user reviews afterwards. Boring, boring, boring. We don't learn anything about the monsters. Boring. So that's what you get for trying to infuse a little humanity into these types of movies. But I thought it was very good.
Where are we at?
We're at number
4?
4.
You go.
Well, I just did my number 5, so now you do your number 4.
Number four. I don't know if you watched this, Jay. Number 4. Blink Twice.
No, I've not seen this.
It was directed by Zoe Kravitz. I believe her directorial debut. Daughter of Lenny Kravitz, obviously, actress.
Catwoman in that film, The Batman.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I wrote this as a movie about P. Diddy's white parties.
Oh, no.
Oh, hey, everybody know ain't no party like a Diddy party, so.
Yeah, that's what's up. Yeah.
It's fairly prescient.
Is it one of those, I know what's going on and this is a thinly veiled fake version of it?
I mean, this movie came out, I don't know, 6 months ago, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the P. Diddy stuff. Obviously, everyone in Hollywood knows about
right.
All that because Hollywood is a wasteland of perverts and pedos. The general public did not know the extent of the P. Diddy accusations.
Yes. What he allegedly did with all those bottles of alleged baby oil.
He and others allegedly partook in.
Yes.
Because, the white parties were a thing, and, P. Diddy would throw big parties. But then there was like, everyone can hang out here, but don't go in the house. That's off limits, except for certain people after hours. And then, I don't want to get into that because it's gross.
And then, we have the top 2 floors of the hotel.
Mm-hmm. And then it will carry on there.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Then no, I mean the after party.
Mm-hmm. No, I know about them.
In hindsight, watching this movie, it's just like, oh, well, that's certainly interesting and coincidental and similar.
Or maybe not coincidental.
Maybe not. I mean, I think like it's fairly obvious that's what it is about because Zoe Kravitz, musician father, probably half these people have their ear to the ground in terms of like, all the open secrets and things like that. So maybe she wanted to make a movie with that sort of topic in mind because the premise is Channing Tatum plays a tech mogul guy, a disgraced tech mogul guy who's accused of something, I think. SA and or canceled, Me Too, something of that. And he's, I'm taking a spiritual journey. I'm in recovery. I'm in counseling. I'm blah, blah. You know, they always say that stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Those
stock answers.
Stock answers. And so he owns an island and... Yes.
Oh.
Did we just jet off to a billionaire's island with a bunch of strangers?
Oh, he's not a stranger. He's Slater King.
So the lead actress, I don't know her name because I don't remember seeing her or anything. And then her and Ali Shawkat play kind of like event servers. They're like poor and they live in a dingy apartment and they serve drinks. Sort of like the Party Down. They have the job that the Party Down characters have.
At any point during like the white party in this movie, does anyone say, "Are we having fun yet?"
Who's there?
I'm going for the phones. Keep a lookout. Oh my
God. They meet Channing Tatum and he's like, oh, hey, you know, you guys seem like pretty fun gals. Why don't you come with me? Get on this private jet and fly to my island. We're going to hang out. On the island is Christian Slater, Haley Joel Osment, Simon Rex, and Channing Tatum's lawyer who just sits there and says nothing and observes the events.
Oh.
And then a bunch of other girls. And so they kind of like, our two main characters are just, they think that everybody knows everybody and then and they all wear white.
So do you think it's weird that there's like clothes for us? I think it's just like rich.
They think they know them all, and then it turns out that the girls don't know them at all either. And then every night they kind of like, they have dinner and drinks. And
The legendary parties of Slater King. Please spice if I'm in danger.
They give them this perfume, baby oil.
Oh.
And the perfume is laced with something. And eventually they all just kind of pass out.
Is this a horror film or just a disgusting drama?
It's all the above.
Okay.
And then they wake up the next morning and they don't remember any of it. And then the process happens over and over and over again. And they start to lose track of where they're at. And then at one point, Maybe, aka Ali Shawkat, just disappears. This is in the trailer, so it's not a really spoiler.
Where's Jess?
Who's Jess?
My friend that was in the room next to mine. Wake up!
And then they're like, we don't know who that is, because they don't remember her.
Oh.
And she's like, what? That's my friend. What the fuck? And then it becomes like this nightmare. And so it's like a really disturbing, gross, uncomfortable movie.
Is this a horror film or a documentary?
It's both. And you know, at first I was like, because I watched this before like the P. Diddy raid on his mansions, and so I was like, this is a satirically or satirizing, making comment on. It's I mean like it's a little on the nose. I don't think that anymore.
So naive, Mike.
Yeah, and so you know, I think there's attention on this movie now after all that kind of stuff, all the gross things that have come out, and yet to come out.
Well, yeah.
But it's fun. It's not fun. I don't mean it's fun.
We need to find out what's really going on.
It's a really special place.
My number 4, I know you saw it. It wasn't on your list, but The First Omen.
Yeah!
This is, I mentioned Immaculate earlier. It's one of those situations where it's like 2 movies came out the same year that have like the exact same plot, but executed in very different ways.
I think I didn't put it on my list because I thought we did a show on it, or I thought it was in our early recap.
No, we haven't talked about this. But Immaculate is like the classy, kind of more atmospheric, very simple, stripped down version. And this movie's fucking crazy and disturbing. That's some of the most like disturbing imagery I've seen in a movie. And it's a prequel to The Omen. It's a prequel to a classic film. So it's surprising that it kind of did its own thing, went its own way. But yeah, just like Immaculate, story of a young woman going to a foreign country to become a nun, and then getting impregnated by this underground cult in the church. Exact same story, but man, the visual flares of this movie, some of the visuals of just goes more, especially for like a studio movie. I mean, there's a shot in this movie that's just a straight up close up of a vagina with a demon hand coming out of it. It's like, oh my God, I would expect this from a studio film. So it didn't feel like, I don't know, I like the original Omen just fine. I haven't seen it a million times like The Exorcist, but it didn't feel like a bland, safe, like, I don't think you have Apartment 7A on your list, do you?
It's in my like past 10.
Okay, but that's another one that came out this year that, yeah, it's a prequel to a classic horror film, but that one feels like it's trying to be very in the same kind of tone and style of that original movie. And this movie is just like completely going in its own direction.
Yeah, the location is interesting. The lead actress is great.
She was great, yeah.
She's on a Apple Plus show called Servant, a Shyamalan
Oh,
joint.
she's on that show, the Dead Baby show.
Yes, the Rubber Baby show.
I think we mentioned a scene from this movie before that's like a direct homage to the movie Possession, where she's starting to go crazy in the middle of the street, and it just holds on her, and it's so uncomfortable. She's just like writhing. Where it's like in a more conventional movie that would be very short and simple. She'd scream, you get a close-up of her eyes like opening up, then you'd cut to the next scene, but here it just like lingers.
Yeah.
And yeah, so many like memorable shots, like her laying in bed and her hair is going in all these different directions, like a spider web. Just really unique visually compared to a lot of, especially like a studio horror movie.
No, great.
The only downside or the only negative is like the final scene felt like a Marvel scene.
They've even given it a name. Your son. Damien.
Where they have to name drop Damien, the baby's name, Damien.
Like
and you go, oh, I know that name.
It was like an epilogue, right?
Yeah, it felt like a Marvel mid-credit scene. It just felt really out of place. I don't know if that was like the only studio note or something, but
Probably. Probably. My third pick was the James McAvoy horror thriller called Speak No Evil.
Oh yeah, it's like a remake.
Back before I quit my practice. You're a lawyer. Doctor, listen, you have to come and visit. Yeah, that'd be great. Yeah? Yeah, done.
Yes, it's funny because I had the Speak No Evil original it was only from 2022.
But it was foreign, right?
It was a Danish film.
So you do an American remake where it's in English.
Yeah, no, I think the Danish film was in English. It wasn't subtitled as far as I remember from the trailer.
It's good that we have a doctor in the house. I'm not a doctor.
But didn't you say you were a doctor?
Did I? Oh, I lied. You lied?
Because I added it to my watch list, and then I was, that movie's out again? And I was super confused, and I was like, this plot seems so familiar, but then I watched it, and I was like, oh yeah, that's that other movie.
Is this a case of it's the same director that did the original and the remake?
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know.
That happens sometimes.
But interesting. Good. James McAvoy and his lady, I think it's his wife. They meet a couple and their daughter on a vacation in Italy, and he's like, I've got a house back home in England. I don't want to give away the plot, but this has Mackenzie Davis. So it goes from like them being polite and courteous, being invited to his estate in the middle of nowhere, to like starting to notice weird things.
There's sinister things afoot.
Sinister things are afoot. Slowly introduced. He's really cruel to his son, and they're like, well, they're rational people. Mm-hmm. And at one point they try to leave, but they keep luring him back in, and then it turns into. But the third act just explodes in a nonstop orgy of violence.
Oh.
That you may enjoy. An action-packed, non-stop orgy of violence.
Okay.
More than I would have expected from a movie like this.
It doesn't turn into a series of non-events?
No.
Okay.
I was going, oh, dang, so many times, like, whoa, like, oh, God, you done that? You done that? It's fun. It's fun. It's a fun thriller.
Okay.
I don't know if I'd call it a horror movie. I'd call it more of a intense adult thriller.
Like a porno?
Adult, as in just adult.
Okay. I mean, I saw some screenshots of James McAvoy with his shirt off, so I was wondering if it just devolves into porno.
He does get in his undies, and they're all kind of stripped down to jump off a cliff into a lake. And Mackenzie Davis is a little awkward. So this is weird.
You flipped out and tried to leave without saying goodbye?
My number 3, we might have to skip it. It might be higher on your list. Oddity. Is that your number 1?
Of course it is.
Okay. So we'll hold off on that then.
Fine. Go to your number 2.
Well, no, now you do your number 3.
My number 3 is Oddity. No, it's not. My number 3 is my number 3 was my number 2. What's your number?
My number 2, and I think you have the same one. I saw the TV Glow.
Okay. So what's your number 1? Oddity?
No. Number 3 is Oddity.
Oh my God! Your number 1 is it's that movie that everyone's talking about, isn't it?
It's that movie that has been recommended to me 5,000 times.
Okay, so let's talk about I Saw the TV Glow.
I saw the TV Glow.
Tell me all about it, Jay.
This was great.
I know this might sound crazy. I don't want to alarm you.
Do you remember a TV show we used to watch together? It was called
The Big Go Big?
This was unique style-wise, story-wise. I saw the director's previous movie, We're All Going to the World's Fair.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that.
It's very, it didn't really work for me, but it's very, I don't know if you'd call it found footage. It's all told from the perspective of like a
carny?
No, a camera on a computer. It's all told from the perspective of like a webcam. It's very slow moving. But as far as like a jump up in quality filmmaking from one to the other, this is like astronomical. Because this is one of the most like beautifully shot movies I've seen this year. You see that poster and it's all like bathed in purple. You're like, oh, this is stylized for the poster, but the movie conveys that too. Lynchian without feeling derivative, but it has that kind of dreamy quality to it.
Very dreamlike.
That David Lynch stuff has, yeah.
I was engrossed by this movie from frame one.
Yes.
And it's I don't know if you call it a coming of age, coming out of
It's, yeah,
age.
I mean, it's like...
There's some metaphors going on.
The nice thing is, yeah, I mean, it's specifically a metaphor for like the trans experience, but it's told in this very kind of vague, dreamy way where you kind of bring your own interpretations to it, where it plays broader than just that, where it's just like, oh, someone that anyone can relate to, like not feeling comfortable in your own skin or feeling like you're not where you're supposed to be.
So when you say trans experience, like specifically in the movie, what kind of led you to that?
I mean, the character feels like they're not where they should be. They're not in the right
Well,
body.
yeah.
The end of the movie, spoilers, the main character is so miserable that he's got like a wife and a family, and that's not the life that he should have had.
Yeah.
So it leads to him just being like miserable, and it just has like a
I forgot about
primal
that ending.
scream at the
I don't know
end.
if I'd specifically say trans, more just like
Well, the director has explicitly said that's what it's about.
Oh,
so,
okay.
But like I said, it's open enough.
Because I know the
where-
director is a trans person,
Right.
but because I forgot that ending where he grows up and he's an old man.
He's so miserable. He's like, I even got married and have some kids.
Right.
He just like resents the life that he should have had that he didn't do because he repressed it.
Can I stay up late to watch the Pink Pig tonight?
Isn't that a show for girls?
He says that early on. He's like, "There's a hole in me." Like that's the whole movie.
Well, he said, she's like, "Do you like girls?" And he's like, "Or do you like boys?" And he goes, "I like TV shows." So I think it's like adolescence, kind of finding who you are. If you want to take a more general approach.
Well, that's what I mean. It's not like beating you over the head. It's very vague and dreamlike in a way where it's open to interpretation.
And coming to it's going from the vague, cloudy, confusing time of your youth to a more focused, harsh reality of adulthood.
Yes, and nostalgia, that cloud of nostalgia.
It's shown through the lens of the TV show. That's the centerpiece of the movie. It's is the show called? What's the show called? I forget.
The Pink Opaque.
Pink Opaque. Yes.
An homage to, like, I don't know, Goosebumps and Buffy the Vampire Slayer. It's very well done. All the scenes that are shot for the TV show.
Yeah.
Hey, Mr. Ice Cream Man. Stop turning all my friends into popsicle sticks.
Whole thing felt cheesy and cheap, dated, and not scary at all.
And the trailer kind of leads you in a different direction where it almost has a supernatural quality to it, where they're like, is the Pink Opaque a real thing? And that's like, no, no.
This isn't that kind of movie.
No, but those two characters are, they're lovely characters. Would you call this a shoegazer film?
I was going to say the word shoegazer. Shoegazy.
Mumblecore.
They go to,
I don't know.
Speaking of Twin Peaks, the third season of Twin Peaks, how they're always going to the Roadhouse, and there's that band playing. There's a whole portion of this movie where they go to a bar. There's these kind of dreamy, shoegazy bands playing. So yeah, it's barely. I don't know if it's really a horror movie. I don't know if it really belongs on this list, but
that's true.
It's more existential horror, I guess. Fear or like. Anger at yourself for not being the person.
Horror.
Internalized horror.
I don't know what you describe it as. Social horror.
Sure.
Yeah, that the awkwardness of growing up, told through a unique perspective.
And the pressures of being who you think you're supposed to be.
Right.
Fred Durst is in this movie. I didn't realize that was him while I was watching it, but
it's a nice, lovely film from a director who is trying to say things through the lens of cinema and art.
Yes.
Much like that movie Afraid I watched. They were trying to say something about AI.
Oh, yeah, social commentary about our dependence on technology.
Because at the end of that movie ends with a YouTuber unboxing the newest model of AI, the AI. It's spreading, Jay.
Oh my God!
It's a sequel bait.
This sounds like a horrific motion picture.
This movie has sequel bait too. It's like, I want to see him working in the arcade as an old man. In the sequel, don't you?
Oh,
you can
sure.
Just keep going with this.
This isn't
story.
a self-contained story. It's the start of a cinematic universe.
Well, let's do a combined discussion on Oddity.
My number 3, your number 1, right?
Damn right.
Could you open the door?
What do you want?
You're in trouble.
What?
Just open the door. I am telling you that there is someone in there with you.
So my two favorite types of horror movies are trying to see what a big studio will do with a lame gimmick. How are you going to make a tarot card movie? I guess they've done the Ouija board, they've done tarot cards, whatever else is spooky.
Mousetrap. When are they doing
the bottle.
Mousetrap?
No. It's got to be like creepy. Oh, have they ever done like Bloody Mary? You know when you say in the mirror?
I think they've done like cheapo version, not like a studio movie.
Bloody Mary,
yeah.
In the mirror. Shit like that. Where
urban legend kind of stuff.
Urban legend, that sort of thing. A game, blah, 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 blah. Magic 8 Ball. Has anyone made harm
Ooh,
at Magic 8
no.
Ball? Oh, God, I just gave Blumhouse their next film. Magic 8 Ball, the movie. So I like those kind of movies, but I very much lean more towards the gothic horror. This leans in that direction. You like body horror, kind of stuff like that.
Well, I like this type of classy. This felt very like Mike Flanagan to me. This movie.
Gothic horror.
Gothic horror.
So I watched a trailer and I was like, I'm in, and just very, very creepy imagery. The contact lens on the guy looked a little stupid in the trailer, but then it turns out to have a plot point.
There's a purpose to it, yeah.
This rich businessman and his wife move into a fort or a castle.
Some sort of, it's a weird piece of real estate.
I think he's he's a therapist. He's a doctor because he works on this psychiatry. That's the whole plot of the movie. Sorry,
Right.
It's been a little bit. But he's a doctor, psychiatrist, and he's wealthy, so he's remodeling this old fort to turn it into a house. And his wife is left at home alone, and a creepy man comes to the door. She dies. She's murdered. Questions remain. And then
twin sister.
Her
psychic.
twin sister is a psychic, and the doctor has moved on. He has a new fiance, and then shit happens.
Well, the sister shows up. She wants to go to the location of the murder to use her psychic abilities to hopefully solve the murder.
Because she's gotten they think it's a mental patient who's escaped from his mental hospital because of the eye, and so she touches things. She has like she's like a medium where she can touch things, and she has this eye. And so the doctor's like, okay, like he doesn't really want her to start investigating, but I don't want to.
He's trying to move on with his life.
He's trying to move on with his life.
My sister would never allow a strange man into her home in the middle of the night.
She's saying some weird things to me, Dad.
She's clearly not well.
And it is a movie that achieves effective, well done, well earned jump scares that aren't cheap, that are genuinely frightening.
Right. Yeah, it feels like there's a build up to them as opposed to just a loud noise to startle you.
It finds that perfect balance of creeping you out at the same time with a jump scare, and that's a well admired accomplishment in my opinion.
Sure. We've set up a little tent here downstairs instead of going back to the city, and I find it kind of cozy and romantic. What do you think, Ted?
But yeah, so many like unsettling moments, and then that wooden sculpture that she brings, and it's just batshit.
Which is supposed to be, I guess, just like what would you call that?
Like a golem?
Sure, yeah, it's like an object that's supposed to help her connect to the supernatural world.
I would say a golem because it does come to life. She puts little like notes in its head.
Yeah, it looks like a bowling ball with too many holes in the back of its head.
Yeah,
but yeah, little trinkets that are connected to the whole situation.
Right. She's doing her psychic thing, and they want her out of the house. She's messing with stuff, and there's a whole story. There's a well-constructed mystery, satisfying ending, scary visuals, classy.
You mentioned it being a ghost story. I would say it's vaguely supernatural in the sense that it's less about like literal ghosts, and it's more about ghosts from the past, connection to the past.
Yeah.
Husband guy wants to move on with his life. Sister is obsessed with figuring out the past. And there's some literal elements going on too. But
there's some literal ghosts that show up.
But that's the theme of the movie.
But yeah, it's not a haunted building.
Right.
Ghosts
It's not
trying
a
to kill her.
Conjuring movie or anything like that.
No. It's a movie. It's a movie about characters set in a horror movie setting.
Put them back! This is not real.
Interesting and unique location too, because it's not just like a normal house.
Yeah.
And 90% of the movie takes place there, so that's kind of just different than the type of location you would see in a typical kind of ghost story.
Yeah. And I watched the trailer for the director's one and only previous film called Caveat.
Oh yeah, I've never seen that, but I was curious to go back and watch it now.
Looks good too. Tight 88. I'm into it.
Yeah, that's the thing about this movie. It doesn't overstay its welcome. It's like the perfect length, doles out the information at a slow but steady pace.
And keeps you intrigued.
And keeps you engaged.
And I think there was lots of negative user reviews. It's boring. It's boring.
Oh, really?
It's boring. It's boring. I'm like, oh, eat shit.
They wanted that tree monster man to come to life and hack people up.
Yeah. No. I'm sorry. I loved it. If you didn't, great. We can differ on opinions. Okay, Jay. The comment of the year. Watch The Substance.
Watch this. I don't know if a movie has ever been recommended to me as much as The Substance. So I finally saw it, and it's the best thing I've ever seen.
What?
That's an exaggeration, but it's very, very... I made the mistake of watching Oddity after this, because Oddity is so slow and calm and classy, and The Substance is just like a sledgehammer to the face. By the time you get to the third act, my jaw kept dropping. I was shocked that there's like real name actors are involved in a movie like this, because it's like Demi Moore, Margaret Qualley, who we've talked about, been doing lots of good stuff lately, and Dennis Quaid. But this is just, I would call it a satire, but it's a satire in like a punk rock way, where it's just like aggressive and hitting you over the head and just trying to make its point very bluntly. It's like a primal scream.
Satire with an exclamation mark.
Yes, satire in all caps.
Well, don't spoil anything.
Well, I would describe it as a 2-hour Tales from the Crypt episode.
Simple question. What is happening to my face?
That combines the Nutty Professor.
Oh my God! He's gonna blow!
Jekyll and Hyde, Death Becomes Her, and every Frank Henenlotter movie.
Oh boy.
Because it's body horror. Whenever a movie is body horror, people compare it to David Cronenberg. He's like the king of body horror, but his movies are so like sterile and cold and self-serious, and this is not that. This movie is hilarious and ridiculous and over the top, and it just keeps raising the stakes. Every time it got to a point where it's like, well, this is as far as they're going to take it, and it just goes further into absurdity and grotesquerie. It's a Hollywood satire on like aging and people's expectations of beauty and women as they get older, because that's Demi Moore's character.
You know who raises the stakes? Farmers. Is that what you meant? Okay, so I watched the trailer. I got all that from the trailer.
Okay.
She's a aging Hollywood actress. She wants to stay young, so there's the substance. It's like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles ooze.
It's a fairy tale. You're not supposed to like take all this stuff too literally.
It's not meant to be played realistic.
Yes, but there's
hyperbolic.
all these rules.
Much like your description is the greatest thing you've ever seen in your whole life.
That is hyperbolic. But yeah, you take the substance, and then a younger, more attractive version of yourself literally births from your back. So you see it on the poster. You see her back is all stitched up. That's because the second her came out of her back.
Does her skin fall down, or
you're in each body for 7 days. After 7 days, you have to switch back to the previous body. So you have to switch back and forth every 7 days. And the one that is not currently in use, the body's just like laying unconscious on the bathroom floor, just like laying there, while the younger, hotter version goes off and makes all these big deals and becomes the star of this like vague aerobics show, which those don't even exist anymore, but every episode of the show is just her saying like, pump it, and like thrusting her crotch at the camera. It's directed by, I should point out, it's directed by a woman, a French lady. Her previous movie was called Revenge, which was like a like a rape revenge movie, but obviously not twist, but it's told from a female lens, because all those like older sleazy 80s rape revenge movies are all directed by men. And that movie and this movie do something similar. They're very stylized, lots of like wide angle lenses and lots of kinetic camera movements. But she does
colors too.
Lots of bright colors.
I see that in the pictures.
But she does this thing that I can only describe as like visual sarcasm. The way she films, she did this with the main character in Revenge, and she does it with Margaret Qualley in this too. Like hyper sexualized, where there's just like close-ups, slow motion close-ups of like her ass and her crotch and her legs, and it's like super sexualized, but it's doing it in a way that's clearly satirical, almost like making fun of, I guess you would call like the male gaze. And it's just like so extreme and so hyper-sexualized that it becomes funny. Her aerobics show is just like the most sexual thing, but it's like, it's a hit on whatever network it is. It's all very vague. It's a hit for the network. And then she gets to host what they call the New Year's show. It's like the biggest show on TV, and they do it every New Year's, and that's what the movie builds up to. And you're like, it's just called the New Year's show? What is this? What network is it on? It doesn't matter.
And I assume
it's
there
very
is
fairy tale-like.
a ticking clock or a price to be paid by using the substance.
It becomes a thing. Well,
Faustian.
It's a Faustian deal. You have to follow the rules. Every 7 days, you have to switch from one body to the next. And the younger version, the Margaret Qualley one, is kind of an independently minded. Like they're separate characters, but they depend on each other. So you have to follow the rules. If you start to bend them, bad things happen. That's where the body horror comes in.
Okay, they're
so
separate.
Margaret Qualley like wants to spend more time in the world, so she kind of like starts to take an extra day or two, and that has negative effects on Demi Moore's body.
So it's not just Demi Moore's brain is in a younger body.
No, it becomes a separate person.
Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, where she has no memory of what happened when she's back in Demi Moore.
Yes.
Okay.
So that's the setup.
See, I was wondering why they didn't cast Andie MacDowell.
Oh yeah.
With Mark, because they look identical.
It's true.
Obviously, they're mother-daughter. So it's like a situation like that where she just bursts out and she's the younger version of her older self.
Yeah.
But maybe
that would have been good, like gimmick casting. But I will say, Demi Moore, I feel like I haven't seen her in anything in forever. She's very good in this. Everyone else is so over the top. Dennis Quaid is hilarious. Every shot of him is like this grotesque wide angle, and his teeth are like disgusting. He's like the over the top version of like a studio executive. I think his character's name is even Harvey. So there's that. But there's like a scene early on where he's like eating shrimp at a restaurant.
Yeah, I saw that in the trailer.
Is that in the trailer? It's just like these disgusting clothes. They make him so
wide angle
so
close-ups,
grotesque.
and
But what grounds the whole thing is Demi Moore's performance. She's playing it completely straight. And kind of, again, kind of like the lead actress from the First Omen, like without any sort of like ego or vanity. And then you contrast that with Margaret Qualley, and they shoot her so sexualized. It's very funny, very over the top. By the end, it gets so extreme. I could not believe what I was seeing in a movie like this.
Oh my God, I can't wait to watch this.
It's great.
You went in the theater and watched this by yourself?
I wore a trench coat, I wore a hat,
okay,
yeah. Sat in the back.
I say, Mr. Rubens, it's time. Oh, sorry.
Oh my God.
Mr. Bauman, time to get out of here.
I'm afraid we have to ask you to leave the theater.
We've had several complaints.
People are gonna love that.
That's our top 10s of right now. And to remind you yet again, it's not the top 10 horror films of the year. And it's not all the horror films that have come out. Yes, you can write, but what about this? As clearly stated, we did not see that.
I will say with pretty strong confidence that no other movie that I haven't seen yet would top The Substance as my number one.
Okay, Jay's all in on The Substance.
Yeah.
So